Welcome to the deep dive. You know, the cybersecurity world in the first part of this year, it's felt less like a steady stream and more like a flash flood, hasn't it?
It really has. Things are moving incredibly fast.
And looking ahead to Q2 in the summer, well, the projections, they're built on some pretty stark trends from Q1, and they suggest this pace isn't slowing down.
Not at all. If anything, things are getting more complex.
So instead of wading through all the noise, we're here to pull out what you really need to understand.
Exactly. In this deep dive, we're focusing on a really critical convergence. You've got the growing power of AI, these persistent vulnerabilities in the Internet of Things, and how cyber threat actors are really adapting their strategies right at that intersection.
And we've been looking at the AI, IoT, Threat Landscape 2025 report.
That's right. It gives a strategic view, but it's grounded in a lot of actual incident data from Q1, plus, expert projections looking forward.
Okay, so our goal for you, the listener, is pretty straightforward. Cut through the clutter, get a clear handle on the key developments where these areas overlap.
We want to give you insights that are genuinely actionable, so you feel prepared, not overwhelmed.
Makes sense. So where do we start? Maybe laying the groundwork with what things looked like back in Q1?
Yeah, let's start there. The threat landscape baseline from early 2025.
Okay, so unpacking that, the report highlights a really significant jump in attacks, right?
Huge jump. Globally, organizations saw an average of 1,925 weekly attacks. That's up 47% compared to Q1 last year.
47%. That's quite a climb.
It is. And what's really striking is the regional variation. I mean, Latin America saw just a massive surge, 108% year over year.
Wow.
And Africa, while the percentage increase was lower, around 39%, they actually had the highest absolute average. Get this, 3,286 weekly attacks per organization.
Good grief. So it really shows these aren't uniform threats, are they? Very different realities depending on where you are.
Exactly. Very different regional pictures.
Okay. And if overall attacks were up that much, I think I remember the ransomware numbers were even more alarming.
Oh, they exploded. The report points to a 126% global increase in reported ransomware incidents just in Q1. Checkpoint Research tracked 2,289 incidents.
And it wasn't just one report saying this, was it?
No. That's the thing. It's corroborated. GRIT tracked over 2,000 new victims. That's up 102% year over year for them. BlackFog also hit a record number of disclosed incidents, up 45% from Q1 24. March was apparently a peak month.
So multiple sources all pointing to the same thing. Ransomware is not just sticking around, it's escalating rapidly.
It's a rapidly escalating crisis, absolutely.
So who is getting hit the hardest back in Q1?
Well, looking at the sheer volume of all attacks, education was actually hit the hardest, averaging nearly 4,500 weekly attacks.
4,500, wow.
Yeah, and that was a 73% increase for them. Government and telecoms were also up significantly. Telecoms had the highest percentage increase, actually, at 94%.
Okay, and focusing specifically on the ransomware victims, was it different sectors?
A bit, yeah. For ransomware, consumer goods and services was the most frequent target, over 13% of incidents. Then business services, industrial manufacturing right behind.
But healthcare is still a big target, right? I feel like they always are.
Always. Healthcare ranked high across all the reports we looked at. It's a critical target, no question.
Makes sense, given the data and the potential impact.
Precisely. And it wasn't just the usual suspects. GRIT noted ransomware attacks on nonprofits actually doubled, and a 16% rise against the education sector, too.
So they're broadening their scope, becoming less picky.
It certainly looks that way. Worrying trend.
And geographically, where was all this ransomware happening?
North America was the clear hotspot, accounted for a massive 52% of all global incidents.
62%.
Yeah. And within North America, the U.S. was really the epicenter. GRIT found nearly 60% of the victims they tracked were U.S.-based. That's the highest they've ever seen. BlackFog's data showed the same thing, U.S. at the top.
Okay, so that sets the stage. Q1 2025. Big jump in overall attacks, ransomware surge, hitting lots of sectors, but really concentrated in North America, particularly the U.S. So, based on that, how are things expected to change? How are attacker tactics evolving as we look into Q2 and the summer?
Right. This is where it gets really dynamic. The ransomware scene is shifting quite a bit. It's becoming more fragmented, maybe less predictable in some ways.
Fragmented how? Because of those law enforcement takedowns like Lockbit, ALPHV.
Exactly. Those actions definitely sent ripples through the ecosystem.
Yeah.
We're seeing, well, a lot more active groups popping up.
More groups.
Yeah. GRIT counted 70 distinct groups. Rapid7 tracked 80, and 16 of those were totally new just in Q1.
So instead of a couple of big players dominating, it's more spread out, more maybe smaller, faster groups.
That's a good way to think about it. It makes the whole threat landscape more complex, more actors to track.
Right. Are there still dominant groups, though?
Oh, yeah. We still see prominent names. Ransom Hub was very active in Q1, though there are whispers of internal issues there. Clop is still known for mass exploitation, data theft mainly. Akira showed explosive growth. Quailan's been hitting healthcare hard. But the overall ecosystem is definitely more distributed.
And their methods, are they changing how they attack?
Well, the core double extortion tactic, encrypting data and threatening to leak it, that's still standard. Data theft before encryption is almost universal now. BlackFog put it at 95% of incidents.
95%, wow.
But we might see them ramp up the pressure tactics. If fewer victims pay ransoms, they might resort to harassing customers, employees, maybe even physical threats.
That's a disturbing thought. Turning up the heat.
It is. And we're seeing diversification too, like Clop focusing just on stealing data, skipping encryption altogether. They've had success with that.
So finding different ways to make money from it.
Exactly. And the average ransom demand is still hefty, around $660,000 according to one source, but they're clearly experimenting.
How does the ransomware as a service, the RAS model, fit in here? Still a big factor.
Oh, absolutely. RAS is still a major engine. And that fragmentation we talked about, it's actually fueling more competition among the RAS operators.
Yeah.
They're fighting to attract the best affiliates, the people who actually carry out the attacks.
So they're offering better deals, essentially.
Yeah, some are offering really high commissions, like up to 90% of the ransom. We might even see more structured, almost franchise-like models emerge. Dragon Force was mentioned as maybe moving that way.
Making it even more organized, potentially more accessible, and law enforcement, Operation Endgame and others, are they making a dent?
They definitely cause disruption. They take down infrastructure, slow groups down. But the ecosystem is incredibly resilient. Affiliates just move to other platforms. Even disrupted groups like Lockbit hinted coming back.
So helpful, but not a silver bullet?
Not on its own, no.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. State-sponsored activity. What's the outlook there for the next few months, building on Q1?
Geopolitics is the big driver here. Nearly 60% of organizations say global instability directly impacts their cyber strategy.
Makes sense.
State actors are mostly focused on espionage, disruption, targeting critical infrastructure, governments, defense contractors, key industries.
We've definitely seen headlines about that kind of thing.
Yeah, the report mentions suspected Russian activity targeting Kazakhstan, Italy.
Yeah.
The ongoing stuff against Ukraine, Chinese activity aimed at Taiwan. We expect that to continue, especially around hotspots.
Are their techniques getting more sophisticated?
Absolutely. They're constantly refining their TTPs, tactics, techniques, procedures. We see more zero-day exploits, like Salt Typhoon hitting Cisco gear, more custom stealthy malware, things like fileless RITs that run in memory, hard to detect.
Sneaky.
Very. And more advanced social engineering. Plus, the lines are blurring between state actors and cybercrime. Sometimes states use criminal groups as proxies.
Which must make attribution even harder.
Exactly. And looking ahead, AI is a big concern here too.
How so? For state actors?
Yeah, using AI to boost intelligence gathering, select targets, create super-personalized social engineering with deepfakes, automate network scanning, develop adaptive malware, even potentially targeting an adversary's own AI systems.
So AI is becoming a tool in the nation-state cyber arsenal too. Okay. What about the financially motivated stuff beyond ransomware, like BEC?
Still a huge threat. Business email compromise, BEC. Highly lucrative, increasingly hitting financial services and AI again. It's a force multiplier here, making impersonations much more convincing.
I heard BEC losses might actually be higher than ransomware sometimes.
That's what FBI data suggests, yeah. It highlights just how impactful BEC is. Need to be vigilant with email.
Definitely. And the crypto world. Still a target.
Oh, big time. High-value target. We've seen massive thefts from exchanges, platforms, cryptojacking, using other people's computers to mine crypto as backup. Attacks on crypto companies themselves are rising.
Could AI play a role there too?
Potentially, yeah.
Huh?
Maybe finding bugs in smart contracts or boosting social engineering to steal crypto keys.
And identity theft, just fueled by endless data breaches.
Pretty much. It's a constant problem. Yeah. Breaches in healthcare, telecom, data brokers, finance, just a massive amount of stolen data out there. There are efforts like the PADFAA Act in the U.S. trying to limit data flow to adversaries. But yeah, and AI, again, helps criminals exploit stolen IDs more effectively at scale.
You also mentioned specific techniques evolving, like living off the land.
Right, Ladiel, big increase there. One report said almost 80% of detections were malware-free.
Meaning they use tools already on the system.
Exactly. Legitimate tools like PowerShell, WMI, they blend in, bypass traditional defenses looking for new malware installations, makes detection much trickier.
Sneaky again. And supply chain attacks, still a major concern.
Top-tier threat, absolutely. Attackers exploit those trust relationships, vendors, software, MSPs, open source components. A breach in one place cascades down.
And regulators are noticing this.
Definitely. Supply chain risk is a big focus in NISS2, DORA, U.S. government contracting rules. And, you guess it, AI could potentially help attackers map out supply chains to find weak spots.
Wow. Okay, this paints a pretty complex, concerning picture. Let's dive deeper into AI. We've touched on it a lot. What specific offensive AI capabilities should we really be worried about now?
Okay, offensively, AI is a game changer for social engineering.
Yeah.
Generative AI. It can craft incredibly personalized phishing, smishing attacks at scale. Much harder for people to spot.
And deepfakes.
Getting scarily realistic. Used for CEO fraud, remember that case with the $25 million loss? Allegedly a deepfake video call. Bypassing voice authentication. Plus, AI can automate creating fake online personas to build trust over time.
That sounds incredibly hard to defend against with just awareness training.
It really is. And beyond that, AI helps automate the attack itself. Reconnaissance, finding vulnerabilities, analyzing configurations, mapping attack paths, all much faster than humans. We might see this stuff bundled into cybercrime as a service offerings.
Making advanced attacks easier for less skilled people.
Potentially, yes. And then there's malware development. AI can help create polymorphic code that changes to evade detection, or malware that adapts its behavior based on the target environment.
Tailor-made ransomware, maybe?
That's a concern, yeah.
Yeah.
Optimized for specific victims. Plus, AI coding assistants could lower the bar for creating malware, maybe even for targeting things like industrial control systems, ICS SCADA.
You also mentioned agentic AI earlier. What's that?
Right. Agentic AI, that's the concept of more autonomous AI systems that can plan, adapt, and execute entire attack campaigns with minimal human oversight, reacting to defenses, learning, changing tactics on the fly.
That sounds futuristic, but maybe not that far off.
We probably won't see fully autonomous campaigns everywhere by summer, but the R&D is happening. AI will likely take on more complex sequences within attacks.
Okay, that's the scary side. But AI is also used for defense, right? What should organizations be focusing on there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
AI is huge for defense, too. Its power is analyzing massive amounts of data, finding those subtle anomalies that signal an attack LaDL techniques, insider threats, establishing baselines of normal behavior is key.
Finding the needle in the haystack.
Exactly. Predictive analytics, too, using past data and threat intel to anticipate attacks or find vulnerabilities before they're hit. We're seeing AI baked into SIEM, XDR platforms, specialized tools for deepfake detection.
So, better detection. What about response?
AI is automating parts of incident response, too. Triaging alerts, correlating events to spot complex campaigns, investigating, isolating systems, blocking traffic much faster than humans can. Think AI-enhanced SOL platforms or those AI co-pilots like Microsoft's Security Copilot.
Making security operations centers, SOCs, more efficient.
That's the goal. Augmenting human teams, handling routine stuff, speeding up response times, reducing that mean time to remediate, MTTR.
And improving overall visibility.
Yeah, correlating alerts from all the different tools to get a unified view. Identifying complex attack chains that might get missed. Reducing alert fatigue. And AI-driven UEBA user and entity behavior analytics gets better at spotting insider threats or compromised accounts by finding weird activity patterns.
So it really is an AI arms race. Attackers and defenders both using it. But relying so much on AI, what are the governance and security challenges that come with that?
That's a critical question.
Yeah.
There's often a big gap between how fast companies adopt AI and how well they secure it. Lots of shadow AI popping up systems used without proper oversight or security checks.
Which sounds risky.
Hugely risky. And AI systems themselves have unique vulnerabilities, things like data poisoning, corrupting the training data, model evasion, tricking the AI with adversarial examples or prompt injection, privacy issues with LLMs, algorithmic bias, IP risks, even securing the AI supply chain itself.
A whole new set of worries for security teams to get their arms around.
Exactly. And the regulations are still catching up, and they're fragmented. You've got the EU AI Act, which is comprehensive, but the U.S. is more patchwork, state-level stuff emerging.
Yeah.
Makes compliance tricky for global companies.
So how do organizations even start tackling this? AI governance.
Formal frameworks are key. Things like the NIST AI RMF, ISO 42001. You need processes to discover and track all your AI models, do proper risk assessments, set clear internal policies, implement specific controls, monitor and audit constantly. Documentation like AI bills of materials, AI bombs becomes important. Clear accountability.
And the skills gap probably doesn't help here either.
Definitely not. The cybersecurity skills gap makes securing AI and defending against AI-powered attacks even harder.
Okay, so managing AI is a huge challenge on top of everything else. Let's shift to another area with its own unique problems, the Internet of Things, IoT. What vulnerabilities and attack vectors are we looking at for Q2 and summer?
Sadly, a lot of the same old problems persist with IoT. Weak or default passwords, slow or no patching, lack of encryption. One estimate said 98% of IoT traffic is unencrypted. Insecure APIs. These basic flaws are still widespread.
So the fundamentals are still being missed on a massive scale.
In many cases, yes. And attackers exploit that, building botnets like Mirai for DDoS attacks, man-in-the-middle attacks intercepting that unencrypted data, direct denial of service against devices that just don't have the resources to cope.
And crucially, IoT is often an entry point, right?
Very often. Compromise an insecure camera or printer, then pivot into the main corporate network, the IT, or even the OT systems. Get access to more valuable data.
Which sectors or devices are the biggest targets here?
High-risk industries. Manufacturing sees a lot of malware targeting industrial systems. Healthcare, with IoT devices, huge risks to patient data. Even safety, critical infrastructure, obviously. Retail with POS systems, supply chain devices.
And specific devices.
Things like home office routers, smart printers, IP cameras are constantly targeted. Medical devices like infusion pumps, monitors, industrial PLCs, RTUs, connected vehicles. Smart building systems. It's a huge range.
So what can organizations or even individuals actually do about this? What are the best practices?
It really starts with the basics. The cyber hygiene. Change default passwords immediately. Strong, unique ones. Use strong authentication. Patch promptly firmware, software. Encrypt data wherever possible. Disconnect devices you're not using.
Network level stuff too.
Absolutely critical. Network segmentation is huge. Isolate IoT devices from your main network. It drastically limits the blast radius if one gets compromised. Use firewalls properly. VPNs for sensitive remote access. Continuous monitoring. Anomaly detection to spot weird behavior.
And being proactive.
Yeah. Choose vendors who prioritize security by design. Vet third-party components. Use security frameworks like the NIST IoT guidelines and zero trust principles. Really important for IoT. Never trust, always verify, least privilege, microsegmentation. Assume breach.
Given the sheer number and variety of these devices, securing every single one seems almost impossible for most places.
You're right. The scale makes individual device security really tough to manage perfectly. That's why those network control segmentation, zero trust are so vital. You control the environment around the devices.
And these IoT weaknesses feed into other threats, like ransomware.
Definitely. They provide easy initial access points, amplifying ransomware and supply chain risks. And the convergence of IT, OT, IoT means you need an integrated defense. Break down those silos between security teams.
Makes sense. Okay, this has been incredibly thorough. One last major piece, regulations and compliance. That landscape is always shifting. What are the key regulatory things impacting Q2 and summer 2025?
It's definitely busy. In the EU, NIS2 is a big one. Member states were supposed to transpose it by late 24, so enforcement is ramping up through 2025. Registration deadlines are hitting. It means much stricter risk management, especially for supply chains. Tighter incident reporting, 24 hours for initial heads up, 72 for more detail. Big potential penalties. And more management accountability.
And that covers a lot of sectors in the EU.
Oh, yeah. Essential and important sectors. Very broad.
Yeah.
Also in the EU, DORA, the Digital Operational Resilience Act, fully applies from January 17th, 2025. That's for the financial sector and their key ICT providers. Focuses on ICT risk, incidents, resilience testing, third-party risk.
What about the U.S.? What's happening stateside?
We're expecting the final rule for CIRCIA, that's the incident reporting for critical infrastructure, probably late 2025. That'll mandate reporting to CISA. The CISA Act itself from 2015 is up for reauthorization by September 25.
Okay.
And we're seeing updates to the FIFAR, the rules for federal contractors, more requirements around SBOMs, security attestation, specific practices, plus more states are rolling out comprehensive privacy laws. Delaware, Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Tennessee, Maryland, all have laws taking effect during 2025.
More state laws adds complexity.
It does. They share principles but have unique twists. And we might see HIPAA security rule updates too, maybe mandating things like MFA, encryption, stricter audits for healthcare. Elsewhere, you've got India's DPDPA, Canada updating PIPEDA, the UK possibly aligning more with NIS2. It's global.
It really sounds like a tangled web for companies to navigate. What are the main compliance challenges?
The biggest is probably that fragmentation across jurisdictions. Hard to have one global strategy. Also, the consistent focus on supply chain security. It's a major theme everywhere now. And then layering on AI-specific regulations like the EU AI Act and U.S. state efforts, it adds another whole dimension.
So what's the bottom line implication of all this regulation?
Well, it's definitely driving cybersecurity investment, which is good. But there's always the risk of a check-the-box mentality, just meeting the minimums.
Right, compliance versus actual security.
Exactly. The focus on supply chains reflects real threats. And regulating fast-moving tech like AI is tough. So organizations really need a proactive, risk-based approach that goes beyond just ticking compliance boxes.
Okay, this has been incredibly comprehensive. Really appreciate you breaking it all down. To sort of wrap it all up, can you give us that integrated outlook? What does this convergence of threats really mean, and what are the key strategic takeaways for listeners?
Sure. The big picture is this dangerous convergence. You've got AI making it easier to exploit IoT weaknesses, AI amplifying supply chain risks, AI fueling smarter, more adaptive ransomware, and all this is happening against the backdrop of the skills gap and the growing regulatory burden. It's a perfect storm, in a way.
So, faced with that perfect storm, what are the absolute must-do strategic imperatives?
Okay, top priorities. First, prioritize proactive defense and threat intelligence. That means threat hunting, getting specific Otis intel, really managing your attack surface. Okay. Second, accelerate zero trust adoption, MFA everywhere, least privilege, microsegmentation across IT, OT, IoT. Non-negotiable now.
Right.
Third, develop a robust AI security and governance program. Formal framework, AI-specific controls, vet your AI supply chain, get ready for AI regs, train your people.
Makes sense.
Fourth, implement comprehensive IoT-OT security. Basic hygiene, network segmentation, specialized monitoring, zero trust for those environments.
Got it.
Fifth, enhance supply chain risk management. Rigorous vendor checks, security and contracts, use SCA tools, prepare for the regulations hitting this area.
Okay, 5. What else?
Sixth, invest in AI-augmented defense. Use AML for detection, AI for incident response automation, unified data platforms to feed the AI, fight fire with fire, essentially.
Use AI defensively.
Exactly. Seventh, strengthen incident response and resilience. Have solid plans, test them regularly, tabletop exercises, specific playbooks, good business continuity, disaster recovery, review your cyber insurance.
Be prepared for when things go wrong.
You have to be. Eighth, address the human element. Continuous awareness training. Build culture where people report things, tackle the skills gap training, recruiting, maybe using MSSPs.
People are still key.
Always. And finally, ninth, start preparing for post-quantum cryptography. It's coming. Inventory your crypto assets now. Watch the standards development. Think about harvest now, decrypt later. Make long-term plans.
Okay. That's a lot, but it definitely covers the bases. It really highlights how interconnected everything is. Thank you. This has been incredibly insightful.
My pleasure. Glad we covered it all.
And thank you, our listener, for joining us for this deep dive. As we look ahead, maybe chew on this. With attacks getting increasingly automated by AI, how does that fundamentally change the game for us, for the humans in cybersecurity? What's the right balance between our expertise and what machines can do defensively? But that's something we'll all need to figure out.
A key question for the future.
Definitely. We hope this analysis gave you some clarity and some actionable ideas. Join us next time for another deep dive into the topics that matter.